Good evening, everyone. We're learning Tanya chapter 7, Shaar HaYichud Vehamuna. And in today's lesson, we're going to learn the cardinal doctrine of Tzimtzum, concept of contraction, of limitation, of concealment. And this is not according to its simple meaning. It's called Tzimtzum lo kipshuto, and not according to its literal meaning that something is being hidden from us, is being concealed from us. So there's two types. The Tzimtzum kipshuto, according to the simple meaning of Tzimtzum, meaning that that there are concealment being done, simply. Things are being hidden from us, and we are only exposed to contracted energy, condensed energy. And then you have Tzimtzum lo kipshuto, not according to its simple meaning. What does it mean? That the original contraction, which Kabbalah describes as the first necessary step required for an infinite Almighty to create a finite world, was not literal but figurative. Ve'ine mikan, the light of what has been said above, that God's knowledge is wholly one with God Himself, for otherwise it would imply multiplicity in one who is perfect unity. It is possible to understand the error of certain scholars in their own eyes, may God forgive them, for even those who have erred unwittingly are in need of atonement. Shishogu v'ta'u biyunam, so who erred and misinterpreted in their study of the writings of the Arizal and understood the doctrine of Tzimtzum, which is mentioned therein literally. In the writings of the Arizal, it is stated that in the beginning, before creation, the infinite light filled all space, and there was no room for the creation of finite worlds. For inasmuch as worlds are by definition finite, whereas the divine light is infinite, there is no room within the infinite for finitude. How then did finite worlds come into being? There was no room for them. Think about it. If the whole space was filled, we can say space, but if the whole vacuum
for us
was filled with an infinitude, with infinity, there is no room for finitude. So what happened? How finitude came into being? How the world came into being? The Arizal explains it.
I had a question. Where did these other people go off?
There's no other people. It says before the creation of the world.
No. It says about these scholars who misinterpreted in their study of the writings of the Arizal.
Right.
So what were they thinking?
Oh, they said that there is that Tzimtzum is contraction, means literally that God concealed Himself and is not involved.
I mean, say have a nice day.
Yeah, so they're not denying that, God forbid, the existence of God and God knowing everything that happens, but it's more of like something that being far from above, is looking from above down. He's not like in the nitty-gritty little details.
Right.
He's above the whole thing.
Okay.
That's their misinterpretation of the idea of Tzimtzum. So, and the Arizal explained this through the doctrine of Tzimtzumim, of contractions and concealment. The Ein Sof light, the infinite light, departed. It ceased to be revealed, so that the infinity was no longer in a state of revelation. So the infinity was concealed. The limitless situation was concealed, and all that remained revealed was the power of finitude. The power of finitude, of limitation of worlds, of finite world, remained revealed. The power does allow for the creation of finite world. This power, the power of finitude, does allow for the creation of finite worlds. The scholars, in their own eyes, misunderstood this mere concealment to mean a literal,
What you just said.
a literal departure, to mean a literal departure. Shakadosh Baruch Hu Silik, that the Holy One, blessed be He, removed Himself and His essence, God forbid, from this world, that He literally removed His presence rather than merely concealing it. That was their concept, their understanding, misinterpretation. And only guides from above, with individual providence, all the created beings which are in the heavens above and on the earth below. They envisage a God as a king who sits in his palace. That's how they imagine God is a king sitting in his palace, although his gaze extends beyond its confines. The king himself is not to be found there in the same way, so they would say God gazes from above on all created beings, which are found, heaven forfend, outside his palace. So we are outside his palace, God forbid. That's how their understanding was. He gazes at us, but he's not, somewhat from afar. So now, apart from the fact that it is altogether impossible to apply the doctrine of Tzimtzum literally, it's impossible to apply the doctrine of Tzimtzum literally, for that would be an instance of corporeal phenomena, or corporeal phenomena, to the Holy One, blessed be He, who is set apart from the infinite myriads of separations. One who is subject to the characteristics of a physical body can be said to undergo actual tzimtzum and to depart. Previously he was here, and now he is not. It goes without saying that this cannot be ascribed to God, that previously he was here and now he is no longer here, who is infinitely removed from the phenomena of corporeality, apart from all the above. Going to page 74 in the Hayenu. In this thing itself, they also do not speak wisely. Why? Since they are believers, the sons of believers. Holy One, blessed be He, knows all the created beings in this lower world and exercises His providence over them. They themselves admit that God's knowledge and providence extend to this physical world, and perforce His knowledge of them does not add plurality and innovation to Him, for He knows all by knowing Himself. He knows everything that happens in the world just by knowing His own self. But God's knowledge of created beings not to come from knowing Himself. If were God's knowledge of created beings not to come from knowing Himself, then it would be correct to say that His knowledge adds plurality and innovation to Him. There's something new happens. Previously, He did not know them. Now He does. However, since plurality and innovation cannot possibly apply to God, because He knows everything, nothing new under the sun, He must perforce know them through His knowledge of Himself. As it were, His essence and being and His knowledge of created beings are all one. Since God's knowledge and providence extend to this world, and since His knowledge is one with Him, it follows that God Himself is to be found within this physical world. Unlike the king who sits in his palace and gazes beyond its walls, the king himself is to be found wherever his providence and knowledge are found. True enough, it is only through divine service that this world may be transformed into a place which God is revealed. Nonetheless, God is present in this lowly corporeal world, which feels itself to exist independently of Him, of God, to the same degree as He is present within the higher spiritual worlds. And this is what is stated in Tikkun 57. There is no place devoid of Him. neither in the upper world nor in the lower world. So we find it explicitly stated in Tikkun Zohar that God Himself is to be found in the lower world, within the lower world, the lowest of which is this physical world. And in the portion of the Zohar called Rabbi Menashe, Parshas Pinchas, we read, He grasps all and none can grasp Him. He encompasses all worlds and no one goes out from His domain. He feels all. He feels or permeates all worlds. He binds and unites a kind to its kind, upper with lower. Relays kurva b'dal yisoidin, and there is no closeness in the four elements of which this corporeal world is comprised, except through the Holy One, blessed be He, when He is within them. So it is only through His power that these four inherently contradictory elements are bound together. Until here are the words of Rabbi Menashe, the Zohar. None can grasp Him means there is no one even among all the supernal intelligences, the incorporeal creatures of the higher spiritual worlds, whose apprehension of divinity is superhuman, who can grasp by means of his intellect the essence and being of the Holy One, blessed be He. As it is written in Tikkunim, He is hidden from all the spiritual worlds, which are themselves hidden from physical creatures, and no thought can grasp you at all. The point being made here is that God cannot be grasped even by the heavenly thought processes of the hidden worlds. There is, however, yet another concept inherent in the word grasp, the ability to adhere and thereby effect a change. The fact that one cannot grasp God also means that nothing can effect a change in Him. And even in the lower world, there are none that grasp Him, even though He permeates all worlds and animates them with a life force suited to each individual created being in particular. For this vestment is not like that of the soul of man, which closes itself within his body and is grasped within it, to the extent that it is affected and influenced by changes involving the body and its pain. So the soul is affected by your body, such as from blows or cold, or the heat of the fire and the like. So the Holy One, blessed be He, however, is not affected by any of the changes of this world, from summer to winter and from day to night. No changes whatsoever. As it is written, even darkness does not obscure for you, and the night illuminates like the day. For He is not grasped within the worlds at all, even though He feels them. So God, the takeaway from today's essay, God does not extend His providence over mankind from above. God is present. Every moment, every action exists through the divinity which is embedded in time and space. Bruchim to you.